I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, because those are the men who I learned this truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. Yahweh is the true name of the God of Israel. Yahushai is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one and only true name is Yahushai. And pretty much I want to do this video concerning, there's this narrative, there's this lie that people try to use when Hebrew Israelites, which by the way, the true biblical Israelites, the real Jews, the lost 10 tribes of Israel, is the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. All right, our sea line makes up the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, a narrative people in the world like to use, because they're under that vibration of Satan and this New World Order agenda, they like to say, oh, well, yeah, white people, they had so-called Negroes, Hispanics, the different Indian tribes in slavery and captivity, committed all type of atrocities, genocide, rape, robbery, and murder, stole our inheritance, stole our identity, raped out. I mean, they did everything that you could do to somebody that you just hate, and that's what they displayed to us. But when we like to highlight their crimes according to the scriptures, they like to say, oh, well, black people sold black people into slavery, so why you mad at us? Go home. So this lesson is going to be about the Hamites that's in Africa. They sold Israelites to the Arabs. That's where you get the sub-Saharan slave trade. And then they also sold us to the Amalekites, which are these people right here that you see on the screen that finance the slave ships and slavery. A lot of the slave owners, they were actually these people that you see on the screen. All right, because you have different tribes of so-called white people, of Edomites. All right, you got the Amalekites, which is the top tribe of the nation of Edom. Just as amongst the Israelites, the seed of the promise, the top tribe is the tribe of Judah, which is the so-called African Americans, which the other tribes look up to. So concerning these people that you see on the screen, they financed the slave ships, and they were mainly the slave masters. All right, so in this lesson I'm just going to show you that, look, there's a difference between the Hamites and the Israelites, and ultimately I'm going to show you the actual tribes of these Hamites that participated in the slave trade. Because for years you hear people say that, mainly the Israelite camps, I'll just say outside of Great Millstone because we break it down, but they'll say like, oh, like the Africans sold us, but they don't really never show no information. So now I got to show some information, be different. All right, now let's get into it. This is Joel chapter 3 and verse 3. It says, and they have cast lots for my people. Who's the Lord's people? The seed line that he made the covenants with, which is who? The so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, which through the gift of faith and through different references and according to Bible prophecy, we are the children of Israel. We are the Lord's people. All right? So they have cast lots, meaning everything that belonged to us, even including ourselves, they cast lots upon us. I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this slave, I'm going to take this slave girl, even if she's married to this slave guy. It says, and have given a boy for an harlot, sodomizing, our children, boys and girls. And, you got brothers, they like to say that never happened. No, it did happen. All right, butt breaking, that did happen. It happens today. They adopt our kids. All right. Hollywood movies, they'll show you that. Hollywood behind closed doors, all type of sexual immorality rituals is happening behind closed doors. All right, and you still got slavery going on to this day. All you gotta do is go on YouTube, search up black people in Yemen, black people, in Saudi Arabia, different parts of the world, black people in Libya, still being traded as commodity, all right, even up until this day. So slavery, yeah, it's abolished, but it's still going on, all right. It says, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink, right? It says, yeah, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon? This is talking about all the different Hamitic tribes that participated in the slave trade. It ain't just the transatlantic slave trade. You know, you people, you need to be more studious and more open-minded. The slave trade is bigger than just the transatlantic slave trade. That's the main slave trade, but you had an Indian Ocean slave trade, you had a French slave trade, you had an Iberian slave trade, you had a British slave trade, you had a bunch of slave trades. You had the Chinese people, they participated in the slave trade. Go on Google, type in Kulun slave, Kunlun slave, all right? We were shipped all over the world. We're in every single country. Continuing on, it says, in all the coasts of Palestine, it says, will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold. Because when you read in the book of Lamentations, you could go on Google and search it up yourself. The Lord likens the Israelites, mainly the men, as gold, all right? But this is literal. Our inheritance, right? And have carried into your temples my goodly and pleasant things. This is what the Edomites have done. Even when you look at the Ark of Titus, it shows that, you know, Israelites in a line going into captivity. They ransacked the second temple and destroyed it and used that money to fund Rome and these different Colosseums. All right. It says, the children also of Judah, right, which represents the southern kingdom. You can read about that history in 1 Kings 11 as well as 1 Kings 12. And the children of Jerusalem, because the northern kingdom, they're known as what? The children of Jerusalem, or the kingdom of Israel, or the northern kingdom. Now, people that's normally in the southern part of a particular country or nation, they're always darker. The people that's in the north, they're normally always going to be lighter skin, meaning a lighter shade of brown. All right? So it goes on to say, and the children of Jerusalem, which represents the northern kingdom, the lost 10 tribes of Israel, which are you so-called Hispanics and Native American Indians, the different Indian tribes of the Caribbeans, Central, South, North America, and Canada. It says, have ye sold unto the Grecians? The Grecians is talking about the Amalekites, the so-called white man and his seed line that financed the slave ships. It's talking about the Edomites, all right? That ye might remove them far from their border. And that happened with the Middle Passage. That happened with the transatlantic slave trade and all these different slave trades. Indian Ocean slave trade, British, Iberian, all right? All these different slave trades that took place. We got removed far from our border. What's our border? Our inheritance, all right? But ultimately, at this time, we already escaped into Africa, fleeing Roman persecution. We got removed from our border. The Lord said what? Behold, I will raise them out of their place. And that's what's going on through the blood and sacrifice of Yahushua and his resurrection. The elect of the nation of Israel, that great army, is being raised up in these last days. Lord willing, I'll be a part of that. Whether ye have sold them, which is where ultimately the focal point of prophecy is here in America. And will return your recompense upon your own head. Going back to Obadiah 1:15 and 16. Because all the heathen nations, they got to pay. Jeremiah 30 and 16, all you heathen nations, you got to pay for what you did to the children of Israel. All right? Now, let's read this. Y'all know how I do. I go on Google and I typed in Joel chapter 3, verses 2 through 7 meaning. Which I know the meaning because I learned from the true men of the Lord. But I want to see what the AI going to say. In Joel chapter 3, verses 2 through 7, the prophet Joel describes Yahweh's impending judgment on the nations, the 17 heathen nations that mistreated his people. Yahweh announces he will gather these nations in the valley of Jehoshaphat, over there in the Levant. That's why you got all this global tension going on, all these different global conflicts that's going to lead to World War III. Because that's what World War III is. It's a global conflict. All right? It says a symbolic name, meaning the Lord judges, right? As brother said, Yahweh Shaphat, right? To hold them accountable for scattering the Israelites. Yeah, they scattered us. All right? Why y'all think I got this right here? You think I just got this here to be like a nerd or something? No, this is what the fuck they did. Look at this. Regions with significant populations of Israelites: Brazil, United States, Colombia. Colombia got a lot of Israelites. Haiti, France, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Mexico, Jamaica, United Kingdom, Iraq, Dominican Republic, Canada, Panama, Spain, Italy, Venezuela. Venezuela got a lot of Israelites there, a lot of Southern Kingdom there. Cuba, Germany, Peru, Oman, Ecuador, Netherlands, Trinidad and Tobago, Belgium. And this is all old now. These populations that you see right here, it definitely tripled and multiplied by now, because that's what our people like to do. It says Jamaica, United Kingdom, Iraq, Dominican Republic, Canada, Panama, Spain, Italy, Venezuela, Cuba, Germany, Peru, Oman, Ecuador, Netherlands, Trinidad and Tobago, Belgium, Australia, Portugal, Argentina, Sweden, Barbados, Pakistan, Puerto Rico, Guyana, Suriname, Chile, Uruguay, Norway, Grenada, Turkey, Finland, Jordan, Russia, Costa Rica, Guatemala, India, Paraguay. All right? This is why I got this here. The phrase African diaspora gradually entered common usage at the turn of the 21st century. The term diaspora originates from the Greek word diaspora, meaning scattering, going back to what? Deuteronomy 20:64, and plenty of other scriptures, which gained popularity in English in reference to the Jewish diaspora, right? The Israelite diaspora, that's in Deuteronomy 20:64, plenty of scriptures, before being more broadly applied to other nations. Less commonly, the term has been used in scholarship to refer to more recent immigration from Africa. The point of me having this here is because they're telling you that we're the Israelites. The diaspora can only be found that's in the scriptures, all right? The scattering of the Jews. So they're indirectly telling us that we're the children of Israel, all right? So now, let me jump back. So it says, let's go down here. It says to hold them accountable for scattering the Israelites, dividing the land. That's what they did. They divided our land, going back to Joel 3:2. Who ultimately divided our land? Pursuant to Ezekiel chapter 36, verses 1-6, the Edomites. But it wasn't just them. You got them Arabs that's in our land, them fake-ass Palestinians. Because the real Philistines is the Egyptians, all right? Hamites. Continuing on, it says divided the land and selling the people, what people? The children of Israel, into slavery for trivial profits. When did that take place? That didn't take place back then. That took place in the 1600s, all right? 1400s on down. Let's go now. The passage outlines several key theological and historical themes. Yahweh's defense for his people, verses 2-3. Yahweh takes the mistreatment of his inheritance, right? The scriptures tell you in Deuteronomy 32, Jacob is the lot of his inheritance, Israel personally. He condemns the nations, the 17 heathen nations, for dividing up the promised land and treating human lives, Israelite lives, as worthless commodities. So why the hell are we going to forget about that when we still being affected by this? Such as trading captives for prostitutes and wine. It's crazy. Raped out people, man. The recompense of the nations, verses 4-6. Yahweh questions the surrounding nations, like Tyre, Zidon, and Philistia, which is Hamites, for their hostile actions. They had plundered the silver, gold, and finest treasures of Judah and sold its citizens to the Greeks to distance them from their homeland. That happened, all right? Yahweh warns that he will swiftly turn these malicious, meaning evil actions, back onto their own heads. The promise of deliverance, verse 7. It says, Yahweh promises to rouse the exiled Israelites from the places where they were sold into slavery. That's why you see all the camps. That's why you see brothers, they on social media, they got the different YouTube channels. All right? Scripture say you could do nothing for the truth but for the truth. It says, and reverse the injustice done unto them. That's going to ultimately be through Yahushua. All right? Now, this is one of the tribes that sold out people. Because, you know, you hear these Israelite camps all the time. Oh, yeah, Africans sold Negroes. And you telling the truth, but none of y'all never bring out no information. Y'all can prove it. Prove it. Scriptures say you're supposed to prove all things. You got to prove what you're saying. You just talking like somebody just got to believe you. You could be right, but you got to prove it, though. So I Googled this, right? And this is all information based off of old videos I already did in the past. The Hamite tribe sold Negroes. Yes, the kingdom of the Hamite, located in modern-day Benin, was a major participant in the transatlantic slave trade, capturing and selling hundreds of thousands of neighboring, not the same, neighboring Africans. These neighboring Africans was Israelites with different customs, all right, to European, aka Amalekites, right, Edomite merchants between the 17th and 19th centuries. Historically, analysis reveals several key facts about the Hamite's role in the slave trade: economic and military structure, militarized economy. The Hamite was a highly centralized state structured for constant warfare and raiding. Its economy became deeply dependent on the slave trade to secure state revenue. The king's monopoly. The trade was heavily controlled by the Dahomean monarchy. Kings like Timbuktu reportedly made massive fortunes, estimated up to 250,000 euros a year by 1750 from these sales, selling Israelites, right? Look, check this one out. It says the Agoji, the Hamite Amazons. That's what that means. The Hamite's famous all-female military unit actively participated in the seasonal raids to kidnap and capture individuals from rival groups. So they knew we was different because they could look at us and see that what? We have a different spirit, different customs. We dress different. We talk different. All right? We don't commit fornication, idolatry, unless, you know, we're influenced by the heathen, or you just got wicked-ass Israelites. But the point is, our culture is different. So it would be easy for them, even though we're two brown-skinned nations, to identify us as the Israelites and be like, yeah, these people is rivals. They different. They don't worship wood and stone like us. They don't dress like us. They don't fucking put fucking plates and shit and they lip like us. You know, they don't shave the side of their heads and have mohawks like us. Let's round them up and make some money off of them. That would be easy. It says scale and operation volume. Historians estimate that between 1 million and 2 million enslaved, I'm going to use the word Israelites, were exported from the Dahomey region primarily through the coastal port of Owida, which is a corrupt way of saying Judah, which goes back to a map of Western Negro land. Just search that shit up on Google. Western Negro land. Not everybody that was in Africa is the same sea line and nationality of people with the same culture. All right? The trade route. Enslaved captives were bartered to European traders, British, French, and Portuguese. Everything I said earlier. In exchange for manufactured goods. The scriptures don't lie. These goods included firearms, gunpowder, textiles, tobacco, and alcohol. The Dahomey used these firearms to expand its territory and capture more people. You see how this is linking up with the scriptures perfectly? Domestic slavery and sacrifice. Royal plantations. Captives who were not sold to Europeans were kept eternally. They were forced into labor on domestic palm oil and food plantations owned by the elite. Annual customs. A portion of captured prisoners was held for the kingdom's annual customs. During these ceremonies, hundreds of captives were killed and ritual human sacrifices to honor the royal ancestors. And they used to eat our people too when you do the research. All right? As demonic as that shit sounds, they used to do that shit. Nasty as Hamites. Resistance to abolition. When Great Britain abolished the slave trade and deployed naval blockades in the 19th century to stop the traffic, Dahome's rulers actively resisted. King Gyetsu famously stated to British diplomats that slave trading was the source of his people's glory and wealth. This is why Africans don't fucking want you Negroes in their land, because they know you're not them. All right? They know we are different people. It says, faced with international pressure, Dahomey eventually began transitioning its slave labor workforce toward producing and exporting palm oil. The slave trade inside the kingdom did not completely end until France defeated and colonized Dahomey in 1890. All right? So there you go. Let's check this out. I typed in list of African tribes that sold Negroes to Arabs and Jewish white people. AR overview. The Arab, Muslim, and trans-Saharan slave trades involved the capture and sale of millions of Africans over several centuries. Enslaved peoples, Israelite people, was sold by neighboring African tribes. The neighboring African tribes were Hamites, as well as Arab, heathen, Swahili, another heathen, and North African merchants to buyers throughout the Middle East, North Africa, and the Indian Ocean. It says scholarly and historically evidence links the following ethnic groups, empires, and regional tribes to the capturing and trading of people along these historical routes. West Africa and the Sahel trans-Saharan routes. All right, so here's one of the tribes, one of them Hamite tribes. It says, a highly active pastoral and nomadic group in the Sahel, they conducted jihads and warfare that resulted in the capture and trade of neighboring populations. The neighboring populations is Israelites. It says the Hazua. Probably pronouncing that wrong, I really don't care. It says operating across the Sahel, various Hazad city states function as major commercial hubs and intermediaries, often moving captives along inland trade routes to Arab merchants. It says the Songhai and Koroui empires. During the heights of their respective empires, these groups dominated trade across the sub-Sahara, frequently exchanging enslaved captives for salt, horses, and luxury goods. That links up with Joel 3. It says East Africa and the Horn of Africa, Indian Ocean and Red Sea routes. It says the Yao and Makua, located in present-day Tanzania, Mozambique, and Malawi. These ethnic groups were primary suppliers in East Africa, capturing rivals, which would be Israelites, in war and selling them to Swahili and Arab middleman. What the fuck? You think I'm making this up? This is in the scriptures. It says Somali merchants, traders, and clans in the Horn of Africa frequently brought and sold enslaved people, which is Israelites. It could also be other Hamite rival tribes, but I don't care about that. I'm not focusing on them. From interior regions, the Bible focuses on the children of Israel, all right, such as the Oromo and Bantu peoples. There you go. To market in the Arabian Peninsula and Persian Gulf. It says the Oromo, During various conflicts, some Oromo groups in the Horn of Africa engage in the trade of captives, while also heavily falling victim to raids and enslavement themselves by neighboring forces. It says the Sidama and Bija. It says these communities in southern Ethiopia, remember what the Lord said in Zephaniah 2:12, he said that ye Ethiopians, ye too shall be slain by my sword. Here's one of the reasons. These communities in southern Ethiopia and Sudan/Egypt were frequently targeted by slave raiding networks and traded into North Africa in the Ottoman Empire. Let's go down here. It says the Kingdom of Congo and Bengala. And another thing I want to say too real quick, he also had Israelites too that thought that they were Hamites that was participating in this trade as well, because they ain't know no better, like Nigerians and maybe other tribes. Not all of them, just maybe some of them. All right, because there's a balance with everything. So it says Central Africa, the Kingdom of Congo and Bengala. Because just because a person is from Africa, that don't automatically make them a Hamite. I just want to make that clear. It says located in present-day Angola, the Kingdom of Congo was involved in eternal succession disputes that generated captives. The Mbangala served as fierce mercenaries who captured and sold neighboring peoples to both Arab and European traders, which links up with the scriptures. All right? Let's go here. Let's go here. Zephaniah 2:12. Ye Ethiopians, ye shall be slain by my sword. Because even though they're a dark nation, they don't come from the seed of the promise. They're not a descendant of the fathers of the promise, which is Ephraim, Isaac, and Jacob. All right? Let's sit with that. Let's go here. So let me see. I think I already searched that up already. I mean, there's some more. Yeah, there's some more. All right, so I typed in African tribes that sold Negro slaves. It says European slave traders heavily relied on established inter-ethnic conflicts and pre-existing networks. Approximately 90% of enslaved Africans, right? Enslaved Africans, talk about Israelites, were captured by rival groups, Hamites, and sold to Europeans, Bible prophecy, Joel 3, sold to the Grecians, in exchange for firearms and goods. The most prominent tribes and kingdoms involved in the trade include, right? Like I said, you got a lot of Israelites that's amongst these people. You even had Israelites that think and thought that they were Hamites, you know? It says a powerful, so it says Ashanti Empire, Ghana, which you got a lot of Israelites in Ghana. We ain't gonna, I'm not gonna play myself and say that everybody that come from Ghana is a Hamite. Nah, it's a mix. It says a powerful Akan-speaking state that expanded its territory and captured neighbors to trade enslaved people. Kingdom of Dahomey, Benin, heavily expanded its wealth by capturing prisoners of war from neighboring groups such as the Aja and selling them to Europeans. The Oyo Empire, Nigeria, a major Yoruba state, got a lot of Israelites in Europa, state that used its military dominance to capture captives from interior regions for the trade. It says the Aro Confederacy, Nigeria, controlled a vast trade network of merchants and oracles that supplied many captives to the coast. It says Kingdom of Congo, Angola/DRC, sold political dissidents and war captives to European traders. Last one, Bengala, Angola, operated as a roving mercenary bands that waged war explicitly to capture and sell people. It goes on to say, historians, let's see, let me just proofread this real quick. Okay, I don't need to read that. All right. Now, check this out. I went on Wikipedia, I typed in Hamites, right? So it said Hamites, which we know Hamites is any tribe of Hamites or people that are descendants of Ham, right? It's just like when the Bible named Canaan, it talk about in the land of Canaan, right, which became the promised land of Israel, always was since the beginning, that it was multiple tribes in there, but they come from Canaan. Curse be Canaan, right? Hamites is the name formerly used for some northern and Horn of Africa peoples in context of now outdated model. Why is it an outdated model? That's like saying the Bible is outdated when it's super relevant. It says outdated model of dividing humanity into different races, which goes back also to this Edomite Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, which classified, all people into 5 races or classes of people, like Mongoloid, red, shit like that. It says this was developed originally by Europeans, right, in support of colonialism and slavery. The term was originally borrowed from the book of Genesis, in which it refers to the descendants of Ham, son of Noah. Now, look at this map. This is a map, right? German 1932 ethnographic map portraying Hamites. All right? Look at this. You can see the color right there. On the left, it says, right, Hamitian. So even the Edomites knew that, okay, there's Hamites here. These people, they're not selling their own people to Arabs and Jewish Edomite white people. They're selling rival groups. They're selling a different nation, a different sea line of people. All right? Let me see. All right, so that's it with that. I'm about to wrap this up. This is Exodus 11:7. Waiting for this slow ass internet to load. Come on, man. Exodus 11:7. It says, "But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how Yahweh doeth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel." 2 different sea lines, 2 different cultures, 2 different spirits, 2 different religious practices. All right. Next, this is Leviticus 18:1. This is laws on immoral relations. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am, or he is, Yahweh your God. After the doings of the land of Egypt," their religious practices, the philosophies they believed in, their culture, their way of life, right? "After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do." Got our people, they want to form this chemist shit and think that, oh, well, we kings, brother. You stupid. Yeah, we're a nation of kings and priests, but we're not no damn Egyptians. We greater than them nasty-ass Egyptians. "After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whether I bring you," which is the promised land of Israel, "shall ye not do." Meaning, don't keep their customs in the promised land. "Neither shall ye walk in their ordinances," their laws, right? "Ye shall do my judgments," the laws, statutes, and commandments, "and keep my ordinances to walk therein." It says, "He is Yahweh our God." It says, "Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them." Then it says, "He is Yahweh." All right? I'm going to finish it off with this. Leviticus 25:55. "For unto me the children of Israel are servants," not heathens. Heathens do not serve the Most High. They can't serve the Most High. Even when they're in the promised land, they cannot serve the Most High. I did a video on that. "They are my servants whom I, through Moses, brought forth out of the land of Egypt." And then it says, "He is Yahweh our God." So that's pretty much it. Lord willing, you was edified. Shalom.